Robots Radio presents...
Baby Beard Media presents a roll-to-cast RPG podcast in the world of The Witcher RPG by Art Halsorian Games. Starring Sean Flurl as Aurelius Tarnair, Ellen Graham as Eve of Hirch, and Christopher Bond as Brioc. Story, GM, and additional rules by Phil Harker-Smith. Designed by Jack Sumner. Music by Max Garcia Underwood. This is The Blood-Soaked Rose. The bards would have you believe the wars are won on the battlefield in heroic feats of arms. One doomed cavalry charge will buy a yard spinner's supper for half a score years, but that don't make him right. Well, what's a general, commander or king have to say about how war's won? An army marches on its stomach, they say. Conquering's a game of manpower and supply lines. That strikes a bit closer to the truth, I'll be fair. Loyalty's a virtue must be bought with coin, after all. What about the rank and file? The veteran of too many long campaigns and thankless service to his lord. What's his answer? Well, he'll tell you that battles are waged in the breasts of the folk that fight them. And right enough, that sounds like the same foolish romantic who'd sing about 100 bloody conflicts but sooner than he'd fight in one. But it's the plain truth. Break a man's spirit, rob him of his hope for survival, let alone victory or, God's forbid, glory, and he'll lay down his arms before he ever strikes a blow against you. So what do you reckon Nilfgaard's forces did after storming through Temeria at the start of their third ploughing war with the northern kingdoms, only to find its capital, Vizima, lodged in its heart like a stubborn nail driven deep into a knot of old wood? Encircled her walls and cut her off, of course. Made it clear they'd be there all winter. Put up earthworks and started work on their siege engines in full view of Vizima's walls. In other words, they began to choke the courage from those inside. So that does beg the question. What brings these three souls at the heart of our story to put themselves in Vizima at this dire time? They raced Imperial forces marching from the south, and winter's chill blowing in from the north to bring their little band, their cart and horses, across the city's drawbridge before Nilfgaard's nukes pulled tight, so they must have good cause. For one, at least, it's bloody-minded vengeance for wrongs that had more than a decade to fester. They hunt a rogue sorceress, Rosine the Red, and word came to them that she, like them, had come to Temeria's capital ahead of the Black One's advance. At last, they had their quarry cornered. By winter's end, it would be over, one way or another. To tell the rest, though, I've a need to enlist a little help. So let's see where they've gotten to while I brought you up to speed. Just inside the gate to the temple quarter, one of the last mornings it would open for many months to come. Flecks of winter's first snow falling on their clothes. A sergeant in service of Duke Hadron of Temeria has halted their wagon for inspection. So we have a tick to afford ourselves a closer look. Ellen.
Yes?
Your character's Eve, the Witcher?
That's right, Eve of Hirch.
Are you astride your horse, or have you dismounted by now?
I think she would be walking side by side. It's been a long day, and her legs are as strong as any horse's, so she might as well leaven up the load.
Tell us how she appears to us as we glide down towards your little party.
She is 5'7", so not incredibly tall, but she is muscular and lithe, with a long face and an equine nose that has just been slashed across the centre with a faded scar. She has long grey hair that is braided tight to the head and full of brass and gold hair rings, keeping it all together. Across her fingers, she has many silver rings, and she is wearing light leather with a studded quilted vest over the top. She is stern, and her large cat-like eyes are always scanning her surroundings.
And she comes armed, I take it?
Always.
Yes. And what?
Always.
What is she?
In fact, she's got two.
Two bloody swords.
Yes, she, as is the fashion for many swordsmen, she carries her steel sword quite often in her hand, with her silver sword being holstered across her back.
Excellent. And Aurelius.
Yes.
Sean, you're playing Aurelius.
I am.
And have you been riding on the cart, on the running board with Brioc?
I think so. I think Aurelius, you'll find him, sitting in the cart, and he is... The one thing that might become most notable to him is he has the features somewhat of a hawk. He's got a very, very kind of clear lines, angular face, a pointed nose, very clear, chiseled jawline, clean-shaven. Inside the cart, he might seem rather ill-fitting with his 6-foot height, product of his Gamerian heritage.
Yep.
Band of warriors is generally who comes out of Gameria, but as a mage as he is, he wasn't one that really built up his physical strength as much as his mental strength. He has slicked back black hair, which is starting to fade into grey. Not something that he tends to change. He embraces his features more often than not. He's donned in a faded blue gambazon with 4 kind of little clips at the front, with white trousers and black boots. And he has a black cloak, which he has donned over him at all times with a hood that is currently off. He's also adorned with a number of rings and pieces of jewellery, chief of which is an amulet that sits around his neck. It's actually silver. It's reminiscent of a broken clock, a clock with cracks on it, and the hour hand is an amethyst that is pointing up to 12.
Me oh my.
Yes, indeedy. And he'll sit. He tries to stay relaxed at all times, but he can't really hide the fact that he has tension in his shoulders. He's lithe, and he's always thinking.
Is he armed as well?
He is armed, though you wouldn't know it. He does keep a dagger within, or a short sword within his coat.
Yes.
He has a little sheath that's kind of inside on his gambazon, and he also has a belt pouch which he keeps on the inside too.
It's
a little
concealed and
he tries to
tucked
keep
away.
everything literally close to the vest.
Very nice. And Brioc, you'll be standing at the back of your cart with Sergeant Rios, looking into the back, taking him through the various items that you have there. Do you want to tell us how Brioc appears?
Yeah, Brioc is a elf. He is a tall figure, quite thin, and is wearing a kind of woolen cap covering his elf ears, and is dressed in heavy furs, as befitting a kind of autumn season, almost going into winter. Very heavy clothing.
As I say, the first flecks of snow are falling upon you now.
And Brioc's dressed for the weather. In the cart, not on him, is a bow and arrow, and he has underneath his hat, woolen heavy fur hat, is a complicated knot of twisted hair, which is artisanally done. It's not a mess. It's something that he takes pride in dressing up every morning. But he's dressed in rabbit furs and bear furs, covering his body. Very heavy clothing, very pragmatic clothing,
Especially for winter.
And we have a witcher and a mage. Brioc's
a merchant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
this is his trade. This is his cart with his little horse out the front. Cheval.
Cheval!
Aww.
Yeah, cheval.
Cheval meaning knight,
Horse.
I believe.
It means horse.
It does mean horse.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different
French for horse.
It's
Yeah.
French.
Toussaint perhaps for
Yeah.
horse.
It is. It means horse.
Do you say it with a French accent?
Cheval.
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 Cheval. Cheval is just a beautiful chestnut horse. A lovely companion and a good friend.
Great.
Oh.
And what about Brioc's features?
Sure. A very angular nose and cheekbones, but a very soft, round face, broadly speaking.
The Ansidi are quite fair of feature. They're known to be quite beautiful. Is anything mar his face?
No cuts or bruises, no scars, nothing like that. what is plastered on his face in very often is a broad smile. And twinkling eyes that are looking to please and impress people around him.
I thought
Falling
you
in
were,
love with him already.
I thought you were going to say a clay mask
No.
for that just beautiful complexion.
No. He is currently speaking to. Sorry, who was he speaking
Rios, Sergeant Rios.
Sergeant Rios.
He's
if
inspecting your cart.
And Sergeant Rios is getting a lovely conversation about why this car is the best thing to have in the city right now.
Now, what brings you to Vizima at this time? There's plenty of other refugees swarming into the city right now, but you seem like you have means. Why aren't you fleeing north?
Well, we thought we'd come into the city and do a bit of trading.
Well, I don't think you'll be going out again. Nilfgaard's forces are just days away from encircling the city.
Oh, I don't think Nilfgaard is ever going to break through these walls, do you?
No, I certainly hope not.
No,
but,
of course not.
No one will come in and out for the rest of winter unless Redania comes to our aid.
I'm sure they will. And I can't
Well,
wait. I can't wait to be part of the metropolitan, the city that this beautiful place is.
We're looking for work, food, and trade. That's it.
Well, there'll be plenty of work ahead, I'm sure, though things might grind to a halt once no one can come in or out. You seem to have plenty of supplies here. Is that food I spy in there?
Oh, yes, it is.
I might have to contact the quartermaster. We're paying fair rates, but we will have to requisition some of that for the defence.
Oh, I'm sure that we can personally come to some sort of agreement. And at this, Brick will grab a rations portion, something separate from the raw meat that he has, and that's a ready meal, effectively, a salted, cured meat ready to go.
Yep.
And pass it to this man's hands.
What skill would you like to use? Some sort of
Sleight of
persuasion, some persuasion, some sort of coercion skill. There are
I
a
would
few
like
social
to. I would
skills.
like to use persuasion, if I may.
And while you're doing that, just out of curiosity, the cart itself, is it just an open cart or is it
do you
enclosed?
want to tell us?
It's an enclosed car akin to what you might find in the United States American kind of Oregon Trail sort of look.
Right, so it's got a kind of...
It's got
not
a
covered
car,
wagon.
but-
A covered wagon.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a covered wagon pulled by one horse.
With hoops.
Yes.
With a canvas.
a canvas
Yeah,
to
so that
top
you
it.
can head into the back and actually go
Can
and get all
sleep
your
in there
supplies.
or-
Sleep
Yeah.
in
Because that's where I feel Aurelius is currently. He's inside still. So he's not coming out.
Do you have a book or something? Do you
He's got his writing kit.
lovely.
He's currently inking doodling. Not doodling. But
I rolled an 18, Phil.
I rolled rather poorly, and he looks at that.
Poorly.
Well, perhaps I might not have to call the quartermaster. It does look rather nice. What else you got back here?
Oh, we've got all sorts of things. My friend, could I interest you perhaps in some fine imported wine?
Well,
I'm sure you and your friends are going to do such a good job at defending this city that, well, you'll need it in the winter coming.
I mean, wine's all fair and good, but you don't have anything a bit stronger, do you, back there?
I'm sure I can find something.
Partial to a little bit of vodka myself.
I can find something like that, I'm sure. And he will procure a vodka from there. A bottle of, where would it be from? Probably the north.
Well, from
vodka's
potatoes.
produced
Wait.
all over the north.
Well, Sean, don't we know a place where potatoes are very well sourced from?
Yes, that's a long way to the south. Yes.
I'm not gonna be bringing vodka imported from Nilfgaard up to this place.
You might know a guy.
I feel there might be like a nice moment where you pop your head into the cart and without even kind of looking up from his journal writing, Aurelius just reaches out because he can hear the conversation. Reaches out, just holds out the bottle.
Oh, absolutely.
For you to grab it.
It's a nice Kedweni vodka.
Beautiful. Yes, I'll taking it
really taste
from the
Kedwen.
mage. He'll pass it on to the officer. And, here you are, my friend.
Are you just gifting it to him?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's on board then.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much. I'll just he looks over and secrets it quickly in his little guard post. Now, I have to ask. Do you know where you'll be staying? There's rather slim pickings at this point of proceedings.
I'm sure my good friend, would have somewhere that you have in mind.
Well, let me tell you. The hairy bear.
Come on now.
Excuse me, go play A Witcher 1. The Hairy Bear is canonically a tavern in
that
the
is
Temple Quarter.
beautiful.
It's just very
hairy
funny.
bear.
It's funny in that accent. The hairy bear.
The Hairy Bear, that's probably why they named it.
Yeah, that's probably why.
The Hairy Bear, I believe it has some room in its common room, so you'll be on straw for the time being, but you probably cram in.
Aurelius's brow furrows from inside the cart.
I believe the Liar's Eye has a similar problem as well. You could get yourselves over to the trade quarter, but rooms would be decidedly more costly. Perhaps the Lancer's Tilt might be the go in the trade quarter. Plenty of folks are just camping in Little Mahakam, if you want to just set yourselves up somewhere.
Not too many will want a witcher in their midst.
Aye, that's true enough.
I'm sure, my friend, that we will find a rest place at one of those wonderful, generously offered options. It's very kind. Thank you so much.
Best of luck. Do you have any further questions about the city, state of the city, the
Have
war,
you got
anything
any
like
monsters?
that? Myself?
No, in the city.
Well, there's always rumours swirling, things creeping out at
Well,
night.
what's the loudest rumour?
Well, look, you'd probably best ask once you've made your lodgings. I'm not one for gossip myself.
My good friend, have you heard of a mage coming by?
No, I mean, Duke has a mage on staff, but I don't see much of them.
Oh, that's very good.
Aurelius will... The cart door will open.
No door, just a flap.
Well, the flap will open.
Will part, yes.
Yes, part, and Aurelius will step out. And he'll plant his feet upon the floor.
Hello, master.
And he'll pop his hood up as the snow starts to fall down on his head. And he kind of looks up at... what's it?
Rios.
Sorry, what was your
Sergeant
name?
Rios, in service of Duke Hadron.
Sergeant Rios. Have you seen anyone entering this fine city that looks rather like myself?
Except she's a woman.
Oh, well, there's been women, not really any so finely dressed as yourself.
No, as the Witcher said, rumors floating about. That would be incredibly helpful.
Not that I've heard of. I've got news of the war, but apart from that, I
Could you
don't know
point
if I
us?
can help you.
Could you point us towards someone that may have more knowledge on the goings on in the town, ins and outs?
Well, like I said, you've got some nice booze in the back of that cart. Perhaps you can apply that bit of that about. And someone who's gets about a bit more than I do, stationed as I am by the gate here, and perhaps you'll get some more answers.
Thank you, my good friend. You've been most helpful, and I do hope that you enjoy what we discussed.
Aye.
Taps the nose, gives him a sly wink, and says, "Well, my good friend, I do hope you spread the word."
I'm glad you're one of the good ones.
Oh, we are a rare find, aren't we?
Indeed. There's enough of you lot cramming into the city these days. I think it spells trouble myself.
Oh, I know. It's a shame,
I keep
isn't
things
it?
to myself. I think they're among the what is it? The elder folk is what we're supposed to say, isn't it? Among the elder folk, I think there are some good ones, but I worry that some of Nilfgaard's spies have slipped in amongst you. And then he suddenly sort of shocks himself with the idea that perhaps you might be a Nilfgaardian spy.
I think it's best we go to the town.
I think so. Thank you, my good friend. That was wonderful.
Not a problem.
I do hope that us elder folk are in high opinion from this point on, if not some of us, at least. And do tell your friends about Briox's bargains.
Oh, aye. Move on. Next up.
Yep.
As they walk past, I think Eve's gonna mutter to Briox, "You give the man fine liquor, and he slags you off, and you just smile in his face.
That's the idea.
Ugh. Sometimes I wonder if you're stronger than I am."
You don't need to be strong, just flexible, like a bow. And he will jump into the front of the cart. Come on! And clop away.
Aurelius will
that.
step back in, hood off, back to his writing.
How fast are you going, Briox?
Not fast at all.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think Eve's just gonna
I presume it's a walking trot.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a city that is taking in refugees and
Yes.
and
Yes.
people in panic. So we're in line.
Yeah, I was
Be
going to
quite
say
hard to navigate.
the road's not clear. So
Yeah.
No, the city is more packed than ever before, as a lot of peasants have fled north, but many don't have the resources or the time to flee that far. So they've left their farmsteads and their small outlying villages, and they've packed in. You would have passed Old Vizima on your way in as well, which is only protected by a low palisade wall, which is a ghetto for the non-humans after an uprising that happened some time ago. But all of those people have poured into the city as well. All of the non-humans, and so they've packed into little Mahakam, which you'll pass going deeper into the trade quarter. But as you say, yes, the city is thronged with people, people with their possessions just on their back, families with children, people looking fearful and huddled together, people making makeshift camps in alleyways and basically huddling against the cold, building small fires in the streets even. It is a really kind of packed, tight city that is kind of still in that last few moments of cramming in before the city is fully besieged.
I would be guessing that the mood then is pretty oppressive. Like, you can feel...
Give me a human perception, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, The Witcher. That's an empathy skill, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
Oh,
yeah.
dear.
I might roll along with, if that's all right.
Yes.
Yes, please. Please do that, Chris.
So I watched Chris crit, 10 and a 3.
18.
18 from Aurelius.
27.
27.
Yeah, and that's a grand 7 from Eve.
Dope.
So Eve is oblivious to the mood of the city, focusing really on their own internal world.
I think she's just kind of less observing the moods of the people and the fact that there are just so many people. She's looking for the way to weave in and out. She's looking for, animals, sights, sounds, all of that kind of sensory overload. And so what the expressions are on the people's faces, she could give less of a toss as she kind of strokes her black horse's patchy mane.
Well, you're a Witcher, which means that a lot of people are antagonistic towards you.
Yeah,
a
she's...
lot of people...
They're fearful mainly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Your standard peasant is
Just gotta avoid.
yeah, they'll spit and say, "Oh, mutant," but really that's covering
A fear.
fear.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Elves and non-humans more of a hatred. Witches are much more of a fear. So
She's used to
Yeah.
people kind of averting their eyes
Giving
and
a wide berth.
yeah, and like harshly whispering as she walks past. Like
So
I
you've
said.
kind of switched all that off.
Yeah.
So you kind of don't pick up on that. Aurelius is a bit more tuned in, but you're inside the cart. So what you have seen is people who are fearful,
That's it.
essentially. Whereas the much more observant and empathetic Brioc there's a kind senses more of the kind of energy of people. They are everyone's still finding their little patch of the city. There's a kind of momentum to people's kind of panic and fear and settling in. It hasn't really the dread of encirclement and being trapped hasn't set in yet.
Yeah.
It's still more of an active kind of fear and panic. Everyone's keeping to their own little groups and families and things. So that's the general mood you get of the city is a kind of a tight packed fear where everyone's looking to their own.
Right, cool. Brett will not stop the cart, but pick up a conversation as they're travelling through. Well, my friend, I think we need to find some lodgings first. It's best that we set our place of rest. And I like the rest of you, probably don't fancy putting down in one of these streets, in one of the tents that we have, or just camping out in this caravan. So could we perhaps agree upon maybe a place of lodging? I know of 3. We have the Liar's Eye, the Hairy Bear, and then we have another place in the trade quarter.
Is the Lazar the more expensive one?
No, it's the one in the trade quarter that's quite expensive. The name which eludes me right now.
The Lancer's Tilt.
The Lancer's Tilt.
Phil, I have a question for you. Was there any information given to us in terms of Rosine coming into the city on either where she was seen or what she was doing? Was it just we know she is in Vizima, or was there anything that gave us a clue as to geographically where she is or what she's doing.
She was seen riding ahead of the Nilfgaard forces by one of Brioc's contacts, who was also going towards the city himself.
So there's
A
nothing
woman
that
in
would-
red riding ahead of the Nilfgaardian forces, presumably pretty much guaranteed for Vizima, because there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, so she
really.
hasn't been seen in Vizima. No,
Not
so
that
won't-
you've heard, no.
Great.
No, you don't have it. You'll have to, once you get yourselves lodged, then you may have to, start put out feelers and pick up rumours yourselves.
Fantastic.
It'll be your own work to do, yes. If anyone wants to make a deduction for me.
Always.
I'll give it a go. 13 for Eve.
That's a 9 for Aurelius.
17 for Brioc.
Brioc, you have the idea that one alternative that was not presented to you is you could try and find a private citizen who was willing to negotiate board with you. Is another possibility on top of the ones you've already had.
That's a good point. Brioc will introduce that idea as well. Well, my friends, we could also talk to a private citizen. Perhaps maybe a merchant who's out of stock and needs refilling from what I have, and might have some... Merchants tend to have quite large places. They might have some free rooms or spare rooms or some storage rooms that are less full right now.
They might also need something killing. Feel free to offer up that service.
I'll keep it in mind, although admittedly I don't think it's far from my mind, Witcher.
Do you happen to know anyone within Vizima in your travels? You're quite well-travelled, surely.
I actually probably should know one or two people. I'm sure I could.
Well, if you could,
Let's head to
if you could conjure up that memory, I think that'd be very beneficial for us.
I'll do my
merchants.
best, and let's head to the merchants' district regardless. If we are looking for a mage, I don't imagine that they'll be spending a lot of times in the slums or in the lower districts. So let's head to the trade district and let's go to the Tilted Lance for the moment. If not there, we might find a private residence. And
Phil,
while that, I am going to draw upon Phil my streetwise.
Lovely.
And see if I have any. If this is okay, to look into any contacts that I might have.
Of course, yeah. Does that come under well-travelled, or is...
It might actually. Let me check.
Phil, I would also selfishly might like to make a roll of human perception
to what end, please?
to see if Aurelius made a joke. Eve's trying to learn more about people.
What?
And I want to see if she's picking up
What
on
did
What
some
joke do you think I've made?
conjure up. Perhaps you could conjure up something in
Sure,
your
roll for
contact.
it.
Was that a joke?
No.
Hang on, no, let me roll.
Oh, if you roll bad, you might just think it was and laugh, and I'll be like, what?
Crit succeed. That's going to be the best roll I get in the game.
Yeah, just to detect that it was an unintentional
You know that it was a
pun.
happy accident.
Yeah, it's 20.
It was a happy accident.
For someone with a base of 3.
Chris.
So, the well-travelled ability is a merchant skill unique
Yes.
to them. What it allows me to do is to know a fact about a specific item or culture on the presumption that I've travelled through there or gone about there. So if you're happy for me to make that roll, or I can make it streetwise and
Give me a streetwise
Streetwise roll?
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
It's less about a specific thing and
Yes.
more. Do I know anyone here? And that is a 17.
Yes, so...
Pardon, that's a 19.
A 19.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, you know a cooper
Oh,
in the
fantastic.
trade quarter. Yes.
What's
a maker of barrels.
Barrel maker.
Ah,
He's a
right.
cooper.
Thank you.
The cooper makes hoops for barrels.
Hence Coopers here in Adelaide.
The brewery, yes.
Oh, that's
The
why
brewer,
the
yes.
logo is a barrel.
Yes, that is right.
Well, let's see if hopefully the Cooper's called Cooper. Makes
you
those things easy.
You also know. So his name is. This is why we have
we
a
have
list
the
of names
names.
before we play. Verd.
Verd.
Verd the Cooper.
V-E-R-D.
At least that's what he
Verd,
was.
Yes.
That's what at least he was doing last time.
What's the Verd, my dude?
Although
Oh my
Coopers tends not to change their jobs. I don't imagine that they would
No,
move
it's
into
very
another.
it's very making barrels is very
Yeah,
specialist.
yeah.
Oh,
once,
yeah.
once a Cooper, always a Cooper.
And I mean, it's not like you're going to change professions in this world.
No, once you've got a
If you're
trade,
good at- if
that's
you're good at
pretty
something,
much it.
Why
Yeah.
experiment?
Also, if you live to only around 50, then
Yeah, human lives are
no, I'm going to
fair
die
enough.
in 5
painfully
years.
short.
And the other thing you'll know is once you get into the trade quarter, it is the nicer part.
Yes.
And being an elf here will be a little bit more conspicuous. In fact, all of you will be a bit more conspicuous.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, my friends, I do have a friend called Verd, who's a Cooper. We also have the Tilted Lance.
Lance's tilt.
Lance's Tilt, yeah.
Pardon. In the trade, and we also have the Liar's Eye and the Hairy Bear as options for us to travel to and rest in. once we head into the trade district, I mean, we stand out a bit. That's not unbecoming. We do have a very powerful group of people here, and myself, of course, just working with what we've got. What do you suggest, my friends?
Briok, is this Verd somebody that you feel you can trust?
I mean, as much as you can trust a human.
You can't.
Human?
He's human, yeah.
Right.
Or a Duan.
Basically, what I'm saying is I would much prefer to be as out of the eye as possible. The less people that know we're here and what we're doing, the better. If this person would offer up lodgings for us, then stands to reason we should take that opportunity and run with it.
I also don't trust all these humans around your big I was going to call it caravan. That's not right.
Carriage?
Sorry.
Cart, yep.
Yeah. I also don't trust all these humans around your cart loaded full of goods. People are starving and desperate. They'll do any desperate thing.
Well, they're not any more starving or desperate than they usually are, but that will soon happen, I suspect, when the siege locks in. At the moment, they're just, normal starving and scared and angry and belligerent. But yes, I think maybe if we talk to my friend Verd, we might find some lodging and a friend and an ally in the city. Is that agreeable?
Someone who might have knowledge about the goings-ons in the city is always preferable.
I think we should try it.
All right, to Verd's house.
Roll to Cast The Blood-Soaked Rose is a Baby Beard Media production. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. All our podcasts are on Spreaker, Spotify, YouTube, and all good podcatchers. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/babybeard. The Witcher tabletop role-playing game is property of Art Elsorian Games. Used with permission.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
In a world where solid-state electronics and vacuum tubes are still meta, people never stop loving atomic-powered everything. A chosen 500 stepped inside a subterranean vault to be spared the nuclear horror of the inevitable Great War. 25 years later, they emerge after the fallout settles to retake Appalachia. Among them, two former rivals whose blood feud will tear West Virginia apart in their epic struggle for survival. Chad, a vault bro who has a strength of 15, an intelligence of 2, and is a complete wasteland dickhead. Simon, a complicated anti-hero who chooses light and hope, but accidentally becomes a cannibal and wakes up naked and afraid with a Scorch Beast queen after a date goes terribly wrong. What? I mean, it's a wild wasteland, right? This dark humor radio drama will have you driving off the road and crawling out from under the fallout. 2 men, 1 wasteland, and so many nukes. Chad, a Fallout 76 podcast, rated R, now streaming on your holotape player podcasty thing.